Hey man, if you didn't catch part 7 of our Arizona Adventures video, be sure and check that out so you can see how amazing Harshaw was for our team. Now, we're still in southern Arizona and we're headed for California Gulch. Today started out beautiful, but we're already watching the monsoons build to our west and we're headed straight into them. Logan has been keeping ahead of his game by taking advantage of those on-road hours and editing last night's content. Our first stop is here in Rio Rico to gas everything up, including ourselves. By the time we reach the pilot fuel station, we're directly beneath the belly of that huge monsoon. Now, if you've never experienced this, imagine a typhoon that feels like it dumps enough rain to fill a 2-gallon bucket in about 10 minutes. It is crazy, and it is a lot of rain. The folks who live out here, they just shrug this stuff off as though it's a springtime drizzle.
Urban is, look how this is just commercial and urban. This is great.
Yeah, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I got a Peru eye on the window.
The birds didn't see it. The birds didn't get it. That's good.
Yeah,
well, dude, this I don't know if you know this or not. I don't know if, how often when I'm in Arizona, because this is my home. This is my home away from home because it's between and close enough to like 3 or 4.
Right.
You know, it's close enough. You know, it's right outside of Peña Blanca. It's on the way to the Gulch. It's everywhere I need, but it's always convenient. So
right, it's open 24/7.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I'm in here gassing up the generators, and then I'll go in
up
there.
your belly.
Yep. Yes. So I get my lunch, and then I usually end up getting my dinner.
Right.
The other thing I tend to do is I'll slide over here in this cool little parking area over here, and I'll slide over here in this cool little parking area over here, and I'll back the vehicle in, and I'll shroud the windows,
take your little nap,
keep the car running, turn the air on, and I'll sometimes sleep from like 9 in the morning until like 2 in the afternoon. Get my sleep so that way I'm ready to go for the night, for another overnighter. And that's the routine. That's what I've done at this pilot station for years.
Yep.
And it's cool to sit back and see this thing grow. And
I basically, for the past 20 years, have done pretty much the same thing. I come in here, I run to all the, if it's nighttime, I run to all the lights, all around the perimeter. Check the backrest over there.
Oh, you did, you see?
Yeah.
I even talked earlier about the broom that's laying back here that we need to check that when we go to
the cottonwood trees there is where the legendary cottonwood rhubarb. And that big moth that we met was from the lights on the other side.
Yeah. And see, I'm never here at night.
I was going to another place for in the morning.
Yeah. Well, I think the only time I was ever here at night was when we closed up early. And I think it was Martin and I that did this. We closed down Peña Blanca real early in the morning and shot over here and kind of got a little bit of an almost breakfast, a little bit of a wake up before moving back to Madera. And Harry was with us then too. So that's the only time I would have seen this. But the bad part is I didn't even think about looking at lights then because I just got done looking at lights. So all I wanted to do was find a place to sleep. So it was cool. But this pilot station is such a neat landmark that I actually get kind of excited coming here.
Yeah,
because I'm usually in the middle of doing something really cool.
Yeah, this is the beginning and often the end of a bug trip.
Yeah,
is this pilot station.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but even if it's not the beginning of the week,
it's the beginning of the actual field work.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's like a great landmark because I've got not necessarily Madera, but if I come from Madera, this is where I come to before I go to one of 3 places right here.
It's centrally located.
And if I'm skipping between, this is where I go to. And sometimes I'm here twice in one day. I'll come here and sleep in the morning. Then I'll go off to Peña Blanca, do some day collecting, or jump in the lake and take a bath. I do that usually too. And then after that, now that I smell better, I come back here.
I live off of Wendy's when I'm down here. So I don't eat it the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, see, this is the only time I go to it. And look, plugging Wendy's for what it is.
Yeah.
When you've been scrounging around in bug dirt for like 4 days eating whatever, because sometimes I'm living on Doritos and beanie weenies or something. I don't do it.
Wendy's is a gourmet meal.
I show it, you know. But yeah, Wendy's is 5-star, dude. So and then Pilot has everything else we need. So for instance, we're gonna get gas.
I usually get a shower.
Oh no, that's just way. I'd rather go to the lake. I like the lake. That's a thing I like to do, man. I just look.
You're a hardcore bug man.
Well, the bar soap.
After a 5-star fast food lunch and some downtime to catch up on more editing from Logan, we're back on the road and finally headed to California Gulch once again. We leave the hard road and we enter the canyon knowing the monsoons had already pushed through here. Now, we're not really expecting a lot of actual rain, but we are expecting to see a lot of water in this canyon. And California Gulch, so far, is not disappointing us. There is more green vegetation and definitely a lot more water in the canyon than I've ever seen before. By far, it's the most green we've seen on the entire trip. If the monsoons hold off, I expect we're going to have a pretty good night. There are multiple waterfalls pushing off the sides of the canyon walls, and all of this water is flowing right to where we're headed. I'm actually worried that we might not reach the end of the canyon. That's why we want to run lights tonight. But fortunately, KC's hooked us up with some awesome vehicles, and they're built to handle these conditions. Otherwise, we'd probably be headed back to the top of the canyon for drier conditions. Keep in mind, he has a lot more confidence in here, and we're really, really lucky to have such good support on these adventures. But the deeper we go, the more water we're driving through. Admittedly, it's very exciting to drive through these washes and push the limits of both the truck and my nerves. But heck, man, even the cows are pushed up onto the road by all this high water, and they are not being exactly flexible either. So we're committed, and if we can get down to our actual destination in here, all of this will be well worth it.
What an amazing day. We got chased out of the Patagonia Mountains. We finally made it to our fuel stop where we were able to relax and eat some lunch and hang out, and we get caught up on some things. And then we take one of the most beautiful drives of the entire week, and we are down here in California Gulch. And guys, this is my favorite place probably of all time to collect insects in southern Arizona. I've been coming in here for about 35 years, and I still love this remote location. And it is one heck of a cool drive coming in. You talk about an insect adventure, dude, this thing had some serious adventure. There's more water in this canyon than I've ever seen before. This canyon is green. It is not like anywhere else we've seen all week long. So we have really, really high hopes of encountering and attracting some super cool stuff. Now, why do I really like this canyon versus all the other places? Because Mexico is right over there. We're probably within an eye shot of Mexico if I really wanted to push it, but the insects that are going to be flying around don't care where Mexico is. They don't care where the United States is. They're flying, they're doing their thing, and they're coming up these valleys and they're coming up these canyons, and our lights are waiting on them. So I'm really, really hoping we can see some super cool, super unusual stuff that we can show you Mexican bugs today. That would be super neat, wouldn't it? All right, so stay with me, man. We're gonna be running some lights. We're gonna be hanging out in California Gulch, southern Arizona. Ryan Bridge and Bugman, nothing but tons of cool bug fun.
Even with all the water surrounding us, we're able to get both light stations set up just as the canyon went dark. After only about 30 minutes, we are blown away by the amount of insects that are coming into KC's lights that are positioned up on a high saddle right near camp. The monsoons have triggered everything for miles, and our lights are waiting. Martin and I have been collecting insects together for many, many years, and as a general team rule, these adventure trips are not catch and kill missions. In fact, we rarely kill insects at all anymore. But this is Martin's first opportunity to collect a cool noctuid moth called a black witch. They are also the largest noctuid moths in North America. Now, I can still remember my first encounter with these unique moths, and I've since encountered them in several states over the years, including near my home in Pennsylvania. For those of us living up in the northern U.S., this moth is looked upon as a holy grail. They are way more common in the southwest U.S. and especially here in Arizona. Now, you're going to notice he injects a moth's thorax with a tiny amount of rubbing alcohol. This instantly kills the moth and maintains as much color and condition as possible. Even though this moth is not in perfect condition, Martin can add it to his USDA research collection in Laredo, Texas, where he works at the southern border doing border inspections and identification on insects. Tonight, these moths should be pretty common, and I expect to see more throughout the night. By midnight, Casey's light station is still going crazy with insects, and we are keeping our focus up here for now because we know that things are only going to get better if we allow time for this canyon to do its magic. More sphinx moths begin to roll into the lights. These large Ackerman sphinx are pretty common throughout Arizona. Rothschildia silk moths are an absolute favorite for many insect collectors in the U.S. They occur in Mexico and they stray up into the United States, but mainly the extreme southern. So Texas and Arizona see these moths quite often. It's barely 11 p.m. and we're already seeing a nice variety of large sternid moths. I'm hoping this trend continues for the rest of the night. The canyon is as good as we'd hoped it would be. And right on schedule, the tarantula shows up. Tarantulas are harmless to people and aren't actually coming into these lights. This guy is just cruising on by, and I am always excited to see them.
Okay, yeah, that's the narrowmouth toad. Its range is from Kansas, Texas, down into Mexico, loops back up and enters Arizona, right near Nogales, and comes all the way up almost to Highway 8, which is about a third of the way up into Arizona. But it's not found in California, it's not found in New Mexico. It does a really weird shape range. It eats ants. It's very secretive, very rarely seen. It's an adaptation to the desert, is just being underground. And this time of the year in July, comes out and breeds. So that's the time that you get to actually see one.
And is this toxic at all?
Yeah, it secretes a very toxic substance, real mucus. You can try to grab it, it'll slip right out of your hand. I'm sure that the toxicity is to make it taste bad. So, yeah, I just, from personal experience, I've put them with another toad in a container just so I can take pictures of it, and that other toad would die within a few minutes. So,
holy crap!
I've learned never mix that with anything else, or I try not to ever touch them.
I love those Western Imperials.
We're starting to see more black witch moths now. Martin has a male from earlier, so he's not planning to take any more males. We're still hoping to get him a pair of these for the USDA collection in Laredo. Now, if you've been following our Arizona adventure from the start, you'll probably remember this splendid regal moth. These are probably my all-time favorite moths in the southwest U.S. They're known for their unique coloration and huge caterpillars. These moths are also a favorite for people who rear large moths. And I have a cool video explaining how to rear the eastern regal moths on the channel if you're interested in checking that out. Here's a female splendid regal moth. Isn't she absolutely beautiful? I can't help but love these moths, both in east and western U.S. Food plant is difficult to keep in Pennsylvania, though, so I won't be trying to rear her babies this year. Agapema silk moths are another really unique Southwest beauty and a favorite for many collectors. They're also a favorite of mine. And as Arizona always delivers, a few more tarantulas floated through camp to put on a good show. They are such great representatives of the U.S. They're harmless to people, but they are an apex predator on small invertebrates. Now it's about 1:30 a.m. and we've shifted down to my light station, situated on a low bench closer to the water flow. We're actually further away from camp and also away from KC's lights. That means less competition between the two stations, and we're hoping to increase the variety between both. It's working pretty well, and obviously the canyon is definitely delivering here too. Even though we're not finding as many of the larger moths as we're seeing at KC's lights, there are still some really interesting insects that we can highlight down here. You might have noticed that we use both ultraviolet and mercury vapor lights. Mercury vapor lights will easily attract insects throughout the night, but those insects tend to stay restless and less willing to stay put. Including UV lights will usually calm the insects much faster and keep them on site for the majority of the night. Nature has a massive connection to UV light, one that humans are only beginning to understand. This Rothschildia silk moth shows off her transparent windows, which might have a variety of purposes, all of which are used for defense. More cool sphinx moths have been showing up to the lights. Camouflage is the most common means of protection for insects, and moths are often the kings of that realm. Although a little late to the game tonight, the jewel scarabs have finally arrived. These are for sure a favorite of many insect collectors in the U.S., and these Bayer's scarab beetles are one of 3 different species that occur right here in Arizona. As expected, black witch moths kept rolling into the lights, even more so at my station. This female will complete the pair that Martin was hoping to get tonight. Once under regular lighting, you can see how absolutely beautiful these moths truly are. I'm sure Martin will be happy to have this one for the USDA research collection. Of course, there are other insects here besides moths. This dung beetle is part of nature's cleanup crew, and we can tell that it recently dug itself out of the ground, or possibly out of some poop, as it's still cleaning itself off. Even more unique, yet a lot more common tonight, are the brown manna-flies that are here in big numbers. Man, I've missed this canyon, and it feels great to be back here again. It's almost 2 a.m. and the insects are still pouring into the lights. My station is getting very busy now, and running between both the stations is keeping all of us very busy as well. Common insects like cicadas, wasps, and more cool moths are all here, and we added them to the list for the night. I can really appreciate the uniqueness of these amazing Rothschildia silk moths, mostly because we've not seen them all week, and I know they're coming up from Mexico. We're seeing the same types of Agapema silk moths at both stations, and I've always been impressed with those cool little southern-based silk moths. The Agapema genus is quite unique, and it makes being here even more special. It's 3:30 a.m. and things are slowing down a bit. Reliable as ever, splendid regal moths are here too. Always a favorite to see in Arizona.
What are we doing, Bugman?
Well, I got a whole bag of oranges that went moldy. So even though we were supposed to be eating these this week, these are not getting eaten. So what I'm going to do is, just for giggles, I'm going to cut these things. And I'm going to make a big old squishy orange mess up in this tree with hopes that something, insect, bird, animal, something comes to it tonight and tries to enjoy some fresh orange. And This one already started. That one I'm just going to lay there. That way we're not just wasting them, you know what I mean? Now, what kind of things might come into this? I'm not totally sure. If we wanted to talk about insects, I would say there's a lot of different moths that might come into this. But usually that would have happened earlier. If I'd have known these were moldy like this, I probably should have had these out around 5 o'clock this evening. But I didn't know. There might be some beetles that might come to this. That was funny. But I figure something tomorrow is going to appreciate this. I'm guessing a bird. You know, there might be a bird.
Tarantulas solidify everything wild about Arizona. We'd gladly use this spider in our educational programs, but they're really spooky, and they'll kick their urticating hairs even faster. Much better just to watch in nature in this case. We finish up our night knowing coming here is well worth the hours invested and the water we crossed.
We have finished what is probably our final night of blacklighting in southern Arizona. The sun is coming up and we're in the process of tear down. Look at all this cool stuff. And this isn't even all of it. A lot of it's already taken off because as that sun comes up, it skirts it out of here and we shut the lights down. The party comes to an end. So look, man, we had black witches and we had Rothschildia silk moths and we had a ton of cool sphinx moths. There's the LO, there's a rustic. We had some outstanding stuff come into these lights last night, and a lot of it is coming straight up over the hill from Mexico. These are really hardcore southern-based moths in some cases. We've got a lot of cool things to show you in the videos that are coming up. We had a ton of cool bug fun down here in California Gulch, but it's time to leave. We got to get back up to Phoenix. We don't know where exactly we're going to land today, but we know we got to make our way up out of this valley and out of this canyon, and that in itself is going to be an adventure. So stay with us, man. The party hasn't totally ended. We're just putting lights out on last night. All right? Thanks a lot. We'll see you.
Even while tearing down the lights, nature continues to deliver splendid regal moths and beautiful rustic sphinxes into the trees. But sunrise is inevitable, and daylight will reclaim California Gulch once again. Madera Canyon is today's destination, but leaving California Gulch might not be as easy as it was getting into. There's even more water now, and yesterday's washes are probably small rivers. With lots of mud and water, the insects were motivated to find food sources. Butterflies are going to puddle and sip minerals and moisture from the wet mud. Typically males, they'll use the energy gained in order to chase females to mate with. The saturated ground also forced beetles up to the surface, and these dung beetles were rolling their food and their soon-to-be offspring for higher ground. The water is deeper than yesterday, but Casey's trucks push through with little effort. We have a long climb up out of this canyon, and the scenery is spectacular as always. The temperature is climbing fast, and we keep heading up and out. About halfway up the canyon, Logan notices an eroded hillside and is a naturalist at heart and has a knack of finding things. Sure enough, there were small geodes scattered on the layers of the exposed rock. We're finding lots of them, and they'll make cool souvenirs and great memories. Needless to say, the threat of wildfire is extremely low right now. Every mile and every turn reveal another piece of southwest Arizona beauty. But we're out now, and we're headed for Madera Canyon to meet up with Harry Zerlin from New York. He's there already, but we have a few hours until we can meet up. Hey man, if you've never been to Arizona or even the southwest U.S., you need to go visit the Arizona desert. Super simple stuff. Everybody should. Maybe even California Gulch if you're looking for a real adventure getting in there and then, of course, coming back out. Wow, what a great day we've had. Either way, we're not quite finished with the Arizona adventure yet. Today promises to be another really cool day. We're going to go spend it with some amazing people in one of my favorite places, and somewhere it's even a little bit famous, I guess you could call it. You might even remember this place. We're headed back to Madera Canyon. And that will officially end this trip where we kind of began. We started out at Madera on our second day after we did the scorpion hunt in Vico Valley. So if you've been following along with this adventure, then you're going to know this canyon. You're going to remember this canyon. And it is absolutely one of my favorite places to go. I probably don't ever go to Arizona without going to Madera Canyon at least once. Well, we're going to hit this place again. And this time we're getting together with Harry Zerlin from New York. So look, you can catch that on the next insect adventure, because it's always a ton of cool bug fun with the Bug Man. Guys, you know the rules. Angry world, be well, be safe, be kind. We'll see you.